and the talent that my mother had born to her equals a duck. What is it, Trent?
Yo, man, that's the formula.
Welcome back, everybody, to Formula episode 13. Today is January 22nd, 2026, and today we're going to be doing an introduction of my co-host here, Mr. Trent Vandenhouten. Trent, how are you feeling about flipping the spotlight to you today?
It's scary times right now.
Yeah,
I'm ready for it.
I know neither of us are particularly good at talking about ourselves, so put me through the gauntlet. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, I've been avoiding all thoughts towards it, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, so just kind of like we did with me, obviously we wanted to come on here and just give some context and backstory to who we are, how we came to be the people that we are, the decisions that kind of brought us to us in our careers and our personal lives and our relationships, but ultimately what led us to recording this podcast. So just to kind of bring it back, just to get right into it, give us kind of an introduction to early year Trent, like ages 5 through 15, we'll say, just about home life, family life, siblings, like what was growing up in Green Bay like, just kind of the spark notes of that.
Yeah, for sure. So, like you said, I'm from Green Bay. I spent my summers like basically 15 minutes north of Green Bay and in on the edge of Door County in Dykesville. It's where I like most of my childhood I remember from, which I was in the water at all times. And with that, like love jet skiing, tubing. I would basically, if I wasn't in the bay of Green Bay, I was in this creek that was right next to us. And I was just walking up and down it, acting like I was an explorer. I think the other memories I have is me sitting in my bed. Um, Now understanding a lot about sleep, I understand that I probably was just, I couldn't fall asleep because there was so much light in my room because there was a light post outside. So I would spend like hours on end just staring at the sky. And every time a car would drive by, it would change the shadow of the window. And I think about, or I would just stay up all night thinking and dreaming like in my own head. And it was twofold. I think, the sleep part, it sucked that I wasn't sleeping, but it also made me become a true dreamer and to be able to like see visions of myself and like how to actually think through a lot of things. And I think that was like a super important part of my life that I didn't realize was so important until a lot later in life. And then high school days, I was a big basketball guy. My dad was a high school basketball coach when I was young, had won a state championship. So I was infatuated with the game. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And me and my friends were getting in trouble a lot, I think, which was like a good thing. I mean, well, it depends. As long as you aren't getting truly caught. So I think like that taught me to just like be okay with breaking rules and not fitting into the status quo that like I think a lot of people get stuck in. I do think there's like a time and place for it, but I think for me, I've always been I went from being a goody two shoe, the golden little boy, to being kind of the rule breaker, but also most people thinking I was on this side of the spectrum of like, I still had really good manners. I still showed up in a lot of different ways, but when I was alone with my friends, we were ding dong ditching and doing a lot of other things. So that's kind of like an overview of me from that age, I guess.
Do you think like in your troublemaker days, the goody two shoe Trent was always still in your subconscious, or do you think that that person was just not really on the forefront as much?
I had a limit like to what I was willing to do
Yeah.
compared to maybe some other kids that would get like caught in the moment. Like I think of like mob mentality. I've never really been one to fall into the mob mentality, I feel like. I mean, obviously that's not truly the case all the time, but I think like when it comes to, I still was able to look inside myself and have a moral compass of like, I'm not willing to go past this, where I would see other people just like getting lost in the moment. And next thing you know, they're doing something that I just think is insane.
Well said. Yeah, I can relate to that too because we talked about how I kind of got into trouble in my early years too. But I think subconsciously, I always was a good kid at heart. I always knew that the stuff that I was doing was maybe just to fit in or just to,
Yeah.
do the stuff that the crew I was with was doing. But there was always
Yeah.
a limit to what I would do too.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting.
I just liked this is gonna sound really bad, but I just liked the like thrill that you get from it, like that fear
Yeah.
that you get from like being like with ding dong ditching, like getting chased, like that type of thing. Or that's even why I want to skydive so bad and do some more extreme sports, is just because there's a like a high that comes along with it.
So to even back up a bit before you started having these memories, what's the family dynamic like at your house? Like what sports obviously were a big thing in your household.
Yeah.
You have siblings? Are you the middle sibling, the
Yeah.
youngest?
So I'm the baby of the family. I have two sisters that now are in their 40s. I have a brother who's 4 years older than me. Growing up, like it was really just me and my brother in the house. My sisters were off living their lives. They were out of high school. So, like, from the earliest memories I had, yeah, I guess me and my brother spent a lot of time together. We fought so much. Like, that's basically what we did as kids. And then my yeah, my parents have always stayed together. So we spent a lot of time. Yeah, what did we do? We just hung out, went to my cottage. That's where like my family spends all their time. Sundays kind of always been a thing that everyone would come to the house if they were around and have dinner together. And we do like a barbecue or something like that, just because Sunday night sunsets are the best. So
Yeah, do you think I mean, I kinda got a snippet of it when I've been in town and seen your cottage, but it seems like family values are pretty important throughout. Is that something that's always kinda been the case, or maybe you've just noticed as you've gotten older?
yeah, so my dad's family's huge. He has 7 siblings, and my mom's family is like 3 siblings. My mom's family's spread out all over. My dad's is basically all in Green Bay or around that surrounding area. But so we there's always been a family, very close family, and my mom and my dad both have really pushed since our family has grown with like grandkids and stuff like that, really having a um, tight knit immediate family. And I think some of that too was just because people have moved away. Like my sister Melissa moved to Chicago for a little while, came back, and they've all had their trials and tribulations that come with growing up. So I think through that they've just kind of seen that we need to always stick together.
That makes sense. I have a couple different questions within the category just about people you were surrounded with, but then, like, influences in your early stages.
Yeah.
But you talked about the friends, you talked about the people you kinda got into trouble with. What were the places and what were the ways that you most commonly got in the mix with these friend groups? Like, was it people you were meeting at sports? Was it people that you were meeting through school? Like, how did you intermingle with the people that you were spending a lot of your time with? And was there, like,
Yeah.
any consistent themes with that, or is it kinda all over?
It's a good question. I was kind of a person like yourself. I would dabble with like so many different groups of people. I think because I was usually so nice to people that like I would be able to say I was at least acquaintances with everybody at school. And so my brother though, my one of my earliest friends, Josh, his older brother was best friends with my older brother. And then our families became close. So we spent like so much time together, vacations, all that. But I did go off on my own a lot with that. And then when it got to middle school, like all the schools came to my school. So I knew one of my friends, Trey, through again, my brother our brothers played basketball together, so I would see him at tournaments, and he had moved from Texas. So then I started talking with him, and then it was always it was always I don't know, my family, if you go around Green Bay, they'll know one person at every single place we go to and have a memory with them. And I think I just got that thing from my mom because I would go to the grocery store with her and I would hate it because she would talk to literally every person in the grocery store. It taught me a lot of
Could see
valuable
that.
lessons, but I think I just like I was a mama's boy, so I would kind of copy her a lot. And I think I stole that from her of just trying to talk to every single person. And then next thing you know, you're in a lot of different rooms because of that.
Let's talk about scale a bit. So, like we talked about the size of Minneapolis, and maybe you can put it in perspective to
Yeah.
the people that you've now spent around here. But like, how big were the schools that you were going to? Was it people coming from all cities? Like even in the middle school days, was it like
Yeah.
one specific city per school, or were you kind of getting people from all over like we did?
Yeah. So my high school was the fourth biggest in the state. So we had like 500 kids in each class. And that was basically a lot of country kids. That was a lot of like kids in the city. I mean, Green Bay is a city, but I don't classify it as like it's not like a major city where you're going to have a true inner city, but there is like, city kids. And then there's like me where I was more on the suburbs, but still in Green Bay limits. And then there's the suburbs and then there's the country. So you had a mix of all things. Like on some days, on specific days, I should say, like kids would drive in their tractors to school or like
Hell yeah.
but that wasn't the norm,
Yeah.
So you had a mix of every single thing. It was very culturally diverse too. My middle school was same type of thing, but more suburbs and then country kids. And then my elementary was just like my suburb. But my middle school had like 200 kids per grade as well. So
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Similar, I guess, kind of. It's good context too, with like, even though you said only specific days people would drive their tractors in,
yeah,
still points to the fact that you're somewhat in an area that people would have tractors to drive in.
for
So,
sure. Like the way I dress is not necessarily because it's a fashion statement for me. Like I know workwear is a huge thing, but like my family's blue collar. Everyone I know
ditto.
in my eyes is blue collar.
Yeah,
So like me and my dad and my brother, if something broke, we fixed it. Like it was not we're calling somebody to do anything for us. Like we were very prideful on doing it ourselves and the things we had, making sure that they were kept nice and that if they broke, we fixed it.
same. And I see that Carhartt logo on your shirt there. I've got memories from 4 or 5, 6 of getting a
Yeah.
Carhartt jacket every year, not every year, but during the
Yeah.
winter times. And I remember when Work in Progress started to blow up a bit, thinking like, how is cartwear becoming streetwear? I remember going to Fleet Farm and picking out like the thickest
Yeah.
Carhartt jacket to survive through Minnesota winters. Full
Exactly.
circle. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said exactly.
To keep on the train of influences, something that's came up in past podcasts and just conversations that we have in general is about people who've left their mark on you, whether good or bad, through things they've said or things that they've taught you
Yeah.
outside of family. So just coaches, teachers,
Yeah.
mentors, things like that. High school specifically, like maybe we can go a couple years after, but who are some people that come to mind and why for leaving a mark on you positively or negatively in the way you think and do things now in your adult years?
I think of well, especially with what I want to do with my life of being able to run my own company, there's three people that stick out to me. One is a guy named Mark Olenichek. My mom works for him. He owns a real estate company. Billy Hoffman and Terry Brusda. Those two were business partners and they owned a metal fabrication company. we spent a lot of time with them. Like those are my parents, like best friends, basically. My dad coached with Mark, so I've known him since I was a little kid. And then Billy and Terry, my brother made that acquaintance for them. And then my parents were best friends with them for years too, and still are basically. So on the weekends, especially at the cottage, they ended up all having a place like right by us. And what I would do as a kid is I would sit at a table next to them and listen to them talk all night long. I just remember it being okay to ask questions. And I remember always like picking up on things that they were doing. All of them always seemed happy, and they all had like a lot of they'd basically buy whatever they wanted. They would do whatever they wanted, you know? And that always was sexy to me because I was like, my family looks at things a different way. And we had nice things. We would buy nice things. Like we obviously had a cottage, so we weren't doing bad, but they had a different type of freedom that my family didn't have. And I always remember just like thinking to myself, I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to have that ability to do that. And they always were interesting too. Like they always had stories. Billy is the life of the party. Mark is also the life of the party too. And yeah, that's the people that I remember on a positive light influencing me a ton. On the negative side, I think I already know what you're alluding at is I had a basketball coach in high school, and I had put a lot of time into basketball. That was the first, like I said, my first love. I remember one summer, every single day I didn't miss a workout, and I was there for hours on end. And then when I did that, I got really good. Like I was a sophomore at the time, or going into sophomore year, and I remember at workouts and all that stuff, like seniors would be picking me before other seniors and juniors and stuff like that. So I felt really confident, and I was playing well. And I got to the season, and this guy just tore my confidence apart, and then ended up getting the next coaching job for the varsity. So I had 3 years of this person basically just like in ways verbally abusing me every day. And I was kind of the scapegoat on the team. And like, this isn't just one of those old head stories like back in my day or whatever. Like my first year, I think 18 kids quit the basketball team because of this guy.
Wow.
And my parents didn't let me quit things no matter how bad I wanted to. They were just like, you have to do this if you started the season. And I remember making a conscious decision, just saying like, I'm not going to let this person or this thing take away a love from me, and sticking it out. And I think it was really great for what it's done to me long term. Just, being able to stick into something that sucks, but it definitely was hard. I remember him coming up to me sometimes being like, how come when I see you outside of basketball, you're all happy, this and that? And then when you're here, you don't seem that way. And I'd be like, I just want to say, you should probably look in the mirror then if you want, if you want to know the answer to that. But yeah, that's kind of like the two sides that really stick out to me.
So I have a good transition from the negative side, but before I get there, on the positive side, were you conscious of the influence that those people were having on you at that time, or are you just able to look at it now in hindsight and think,
No, I knew it.
yeah,
I would, I would intentionally, I always had a knack for like knowing who was kind of almost controlling the room in a sense.
hmm,
Or at least what I liked the best. I knew what those things were, and I would sit my ass right next to that person and I would watch what they were doing. This is like, it probably sounds crazy, but I would like, I mean, I guess it is what kids do, but just watch what they did. And I would be like, I'm going to do that or that. I see what they're doing. I see how what they're doing is affecting the room. And I remember consciously thinking those things though, too. So I think that might be the weird piece, but I don't know.
yeah. It's so interesting drawing similarities in the way I feel or have felt about things. I only can speak about my feelings towards things in the present moment because maybe my memory just sucks. But exactly what you just described about like clocking people's behaviors in the room and thinking that's how I want to be one day,
Yeah.
definitely become more aware of it in recent years. But I think it was something I did do subconsciously as a kid too, but maybe just didn't understand its purpose or
Yeah.
what it was really driving me towards until I became an adult. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So on the negative side, to kind of get more into your late high school, starting college years,
Yeah.
and give an introduction to like the early college years, like what happened in that transition. But I know what you ultimately ended up going to school for, and it seemed to be kind of in the same category as someone you had a bad experience with. So leaving high school, who did Trent want to be? Did college seem like a viable path for you? Like what was kind of the decisions
Yeah.
and process that went into a post high school Trent?
Yeah, I think one piece I should highlight too before I jump into that is I also had one other person that left a huge mark on me, a guy named Mark Benetti. He was one of my high school teachers, and I was in a program called co-op. So I my senior year I did half of school, and then the other half I would go work. And it was like a specialized marketing class. He brought really great opportunities to us, which were we got to run like a campaign for a new cousin subs that was coming in to to our neighborhood.
I knew
And
what? Cousin subs?
yeah, yeah,
What's
it's like
that?
it's a Wisconsin sub brand.
Okay,
Very good, very
got
good.
it. All right.
And young Trent in this campaign made a made an ad that was, how do you say it? We learned about subliminal advertising,
Hmm.
and I made a subliminal ad. That was a great ad. I still stand by it. It was a loyalty program because the target market was high schoolers. So I was like, you gotta do something kinda to go to them. Especially the boys are the ones that are spending the money at lunch, that are gonna eat and go there. And I remember telling there's a panel of judges. There's the like several principals from our school there. The superintendent of Green Bay is there. Two Packer players are there, and then like the owner of Cousin Subs and like his executives are there. And I give this pitch, and then I also pitched this ad, and I told them why we did the ad, all this stuff. And I remember the owner at the end of it looking at me and saying, "You would have won this whole project, but you don't understand the value of your or of the company you're representing with it being a family brand." It's like, you did a great job, but you lost because of that.
That's crazy.
And I think I even responded with like, but it was still a good ad, right? And I remember going to the principal, and the principal, saying like, "Do you understand why this wasn't appropriate?" And I said, "Listen, I get it, but like we got taught what it was. I saw an opportunity. It aligns with the target market. Like you can't tell me it was bad." And she's
Thinking
like,
outside the box.
and she said, "I'm not going to disagree with you, but remember you're at school."
It's one of those gotcha moments, like the kid outsmarts the teacher, but you still can't
Yeah.
give you a good grade.
Yeah. But with that being said, Mark was amazing because he actually brought us to Google my senior year in San Francisco and
Wow.
Dropbox and a couple other smaller companies. And that also opened my eyes to what the possibilities of life could be.
He was like the teacher of that program.
Yeah. Yeah. So we would run like the school store and get funding for this trip.
Damn.
So
Shout out to Mark.
yeah, he did amazing things for me. There's something that always has stuck out in my head when I think of him, and that's he always said the cost of failure is so cheap when you're young. And
It's a
that's
bar.
always allowed me to take risks that I don't think other people think that they can take. So I need to give him a lot of credit because he shaped me in a lot of different ways, and all my siblings too. All my siblings love him as well. But going into college now, I thought college was just the natural path. Like, I didn't ever think that I wasn't going. Looking back, I don't know if I think it, I don't know. Like, I obviously learned a lot. I did a lot of fun things. I partied more so than anything. And like, I was just good enough. I worked hard at times, but I just did enough to like pass. And I think I had a little bit more of like an edge with being able to pass on things. But I thought I was going to be a college basketball coach once I got to school. And I think a lot of that was, it was my first love. My dad was a coach, but also I wanted to create an impact on kids that I didn't get to experience.
Yeah.
And I wanted almost, I don't know if it was like a vengeance thing or what, but I wanted that because I didn't want people to feel the way I felt. So I spent a lot of time traveling with UWM's team, and had a lot of great experiences with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, people who want to become teachers, right? A lot of times the push for that is because they had a bad experience with the teacher. I think that's the most
Yeah.
like wholesome, for lack of better words, way to get into a career, just to make an impact on people different than what you had. And I kind of teed you up for that too. I never had made the correlation because I've heard you reference this coach here and there and like the experience that you had from them. Truthfully, never really knew if it was a positive or negative experience because you'd always just say, I remember this coach to me saying one time, like XYZ, but I never knew his intentions behind it. I always knew kind of what you took from the things that he said, but I mean, you can picture like a Coach Carter or something and someone who's trying to harden his players, which I think is different than a dude who's just an asshole. And I think people have had, the gamut of experiences, myself included, where there's constructive criticism and there's, putting a fire under your players' asses. And then that ultimately leading into them being good at that sport for one, but then also life lessons that kind of metaphorically come from that. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that would have made a lot of sense if that was the path that you continued down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely thought it was for a long time. But luckily, I had 3 coaches in 3 years when I was at Milwaukee too, and I just really saw what the real lifestyle of a college basketball coach was. I even traveled, like, for, like, starting to get into that, like, running different tournaments across the country, and it just wasn't the life I wanted. It was a lot of moving, there was no stability in any sort of way, and but I did have great coaches. Like, LaVall Jordan is one of the best influences I've ever had and truly showed me. I mentioned like the quote, that's one of the quotes that sticks out, but the mark of a champion is consistency. And he lived that day in and day out. So he showed me a lot of what it takes to be great. And he won a national championship as an assistant. So like I'll listen to most of the things he says.
Knowing that you wanted to play pro ball or love basketball so much in your earlier years, when did you make the decision to not want to do that and to want to coach instead? And was that a hard transition, like living the game through a different lens, or did you just feel like it was a different outlet than you'd experienced
Yeah.
before?
I I mean, to be honest with you, playing is what I wanted to do. Playing is like the only thing that I did care about, and I that got taken away obviously because of, you know, a lot of different reasons. But then when I got to Milwaukee, I could have realized a lot earlier that I wasn't going to be a coach, but I was having a lot of fun and just being part of the team. I lost the piece of truly understanding the game or like trying to understand the game as naturally as I always did. Even just like picking up on plays and stuff. When you're not running the play, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
And I did like the one-on-one coaching stuff. I did a lot of player development, but even that, I didn't put my all in it. So I knew before I knew that it wasn't the thing I was going to do.
So the coaching thing was like your new lens initially, and you thought it would be a good transition to still have access to the game.
Yeah.
You're talking kind of loosely about this like fade out of loving the coaching.
Yeah.
We'll obviously get into your transition of like the career that came after you decided to not be a coach, but was it like early on in college you didn't want to be a coach anymore? Did you like ride through the program and then just like not pursue jobs after college? When did it start kind of clicking that it wasn't lighting your fire like you'd hoped?
I stopped being a manager after my junior year. And basically, early on, junior year, I knew it wasn't for me. It was my third coaching staff and third head coach. And I just didn't like the life of it all. A lot of traveling, and I didn't appreciate the people as much. You know, obviously there's great people, but there's a lot of people that aren't great influences. And like locker room culture wasn't a fit for me. I just felt myself going in a very toxic way and like living a life that wasn't necessarily aligned with who I truly was. But I also like on the other side of that, I also was partying so hard at that time, like going out like 4 nights a week. You know, I UWM was a party school and I partied my ass off. So there was a lot of at the end of my junior year rethinking my life choices and like what I wanted and stuff like that. So it was a big transition, but I would say all of junior year I knew that it wasn't going to be the thing for me.
So was your degree going to be primarily in coaching, or was just like the management position an extracurricular that your degree could help with, or was your degree not even associated?
Yeah, so I was from the start a double major in supply chain management and marketing.
Okay.
And coaching was just like extra
Hmm.
on the side. But yeah,
Do they have programs like for that in college to become?
I think at some schools, my school didn't. Most people, I think, also just do like a communications degree.
Hmm. And then just kind of build up the resume on the side with assistant coaching and management
Yeah.
positions.
You typically go from that then to a grad assistant. Grad assistant, you know, they're paying for you to go to school, so you usually do like some sort of management or sports management or something like that.
Okay. So in the not so easy transition, the way that we initially met, like the way that or the what you ended up doing post college somewhat differently than any of the stuff we've talked about was moving to a different state to pursue what I'd call a creative endeavor for a Minneapolis based brand that
Yeah.
didn't really fall under anything that you were doing professionally leading up to that point. Talk to me about the fall, I guess, out of love for the coaching potential career
Yeah.
and how this transition happened, things like that.
Yeah. So, like I said, was done with coaching, just knew that that wasn't for me with how much moving and all the lifestyle aspects of it just didn't align for me. And obviously, I just didn't love it as much as I used to. So I stopped being the manager my senior year. And I don't know when I started watching the show Entourage, but Entourage was and still is one of my favorite shows. And if you don't know, that's about like Mark Wahlberg's life loosely. And it's him and his agent and his friends. And so I started thinking to myself, you know, what do I want to do next? And what came to me was, well, I like this lifestyle. You know, this seems cool. I wonder how I could make a career in that. So I started looking into different ways. And Ari, who is his agent, I started to look into like what it's like to be an agent and what that process is. And it's insanely tough. And so I got COVID happened because I went to a startup right after school. And that was like loosely based on coaching. I forgot. Sorry, I totally forgot that. But
After you graduated,
yeah, this is after I graduated. I was like a sales rep basically for a startup.
dude,
That
that's my bad. I kind of skipped over that period. Like we could
yeah.
let's talk about that transition before the
So
transition after that?
that was basically an app that was supposed to help with developing leadership within
Mm,
teams or for individuals, and then building a culture for the team too.
okay.
We don't really have to touch on that much because it was just like, I don't know, it was for probably 8 months, and then like I said, I was thinking of like where to go next because I knew that wasn't going to work out, and then COVID hit around that time too, and it was actually right before COVID. So I started living in my uncle's house because he was in Florida. And I was like, all right, I'm going to read all the books I can find on what it means to be an agent, how to do it, what's important. And then I just started sending letters. I've picked out which company I wanted to work for. And I sent a letter every single day, an email every single day to like all these people that were either hiring or the execs and all this stuff. And I think I did that for like 20 days straight or something like that. And I got an interview, and the interview went well, but then COVID hit in the middle of my interview process. So then they canceled all of the hiring because what you did is you'd have to go start in the mailroom, and you were basically the bitch of the company, and you would have to do all these terrible things and like work insane amount of hours. But I bought like 7 suits and I did all this stuff. Like I did all the manifesting things you need to do of like, this is what I'm doing. And yeah, then COVID hit, so I just wasted a bunch of money. But I had nice suits.
Silver lining.
Yeah, I guess. Out of like 5 grand. Yeah. And then from there, I was just looking for something new. And my best friend from college just hit me up and was like, hey, I think you'd be a great fit. We're starting this company in Minneapolis. It aligned with like a company that I had built for an entrepreneurship class in college. And I was like, okay. So I came and I visited, I met the team. And then I was just like, yeah, I'm moving here. So I moved there in like a week just because I was like, I got nothing going on. This seems cool. Seems like a great opportunity. It was right after George Floyd. And I just thought like, I could trust the people that I was meeting, and like I knew my friend knew them really well, and I was just like he is someone I trust a lot, and I think he's makes good decisions. So that's why I moved.
What did you think you'd be like doing at that company? Like, obviously, you trusted the people and things like that. But when you're telling your family, like, hey, I'm up and moving to Minneapolis, there's this company that's starting up in Minneapolis, what was your responsibility going to be? Like,
I don't know if I knew. I think I just like knew that there was talented people, a good opportunity, and I thought I'd just figure it out. I think more so than anything. I didn't think I knew like you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that. It was just like there's a bunch of hustlers that can make cool things, and I think all of us could make something great, and we'll figure it out.
so you didn't have that answer in the early stages. You became to be the producer essentially. We talked in past podcasts about what your role kind of was as a producer.
Yeah.
Give the spark notes again, just kind of what your responsibility was in that time you spent. So then we can then draw some comparisons to previous Trent and then Trent who made a
Yeah.
career transition after that phase was done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're doing a lot when you're owning a business. You're doing all of it. Like I was the one that had to do basically all the stuff nobody else wanted to do.
Mhm.
Contract stuff. I did like as a producer, you're basically organizing everything like a project manager almost. And then also just holding a lot of people accountable, finding talent, paying the talent, keeping track of the numbers, like all the all the businessy stuff that like is boring that people don't want to do.
If they're gonna say all the bullshit.
That too.
And none of this was stuff that you had prior experience doing, right? Like the contracts, the scheduling talent, and all that stuff. It's all stuff you kind of were just figuring out on the fly, right?
Yeah, I just learned it all. I just made it up.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I just kind of made it all up, and then would learn from the people around me or like who we were meeting. Um, or I'd ask a lot of people for help too. So
Yeah, something to learn a lot about you in the phase of that business from the stuff you mentioned on this podcast. And since I've learned
Hmm.
more about your like upbringing and in other conversations, is you're like the most prepared guy of all time. Like you prepare and teach yourself things and read the books and do the research almost like to a fault sometimes.
Yeah.
I think back to the Salesforce interview, for example, when you just were grinding, learning everything about the company, approaching it from different angles that I would never even think about in going into a job interview.
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from? Do you think that that sword got sharpened in the Minneapolis brand days out of necessity? Do you think it's
Yeah.
something that you learned from basketball? Like, where did that kind of come from, and why do
Yeah.
you think it's important?
I was obsessed with Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
I used to watch videos on him and Michael Jackson and kind of Michael Jordan, but mostly Kobe and Michael Jackson every single day when I got home from school for hours. Go leading into like probably 2018, I probably had seen like every YouTube video that was ever made on Kobe Bryant, especially if he was talking. And I think that I really just picked that up from him. And then also my mom like worked insanely hard. So I think that I just understood that working long hours and like putting your all in something took time and took a lot of effort. And I think that's just where I kind of got it. I never saw like my mom in action working really, but I felt like she, besides, I would see her on phone calls. That's not true. But yeah, I think those two were like the influence. And then my grandfather, my grandpa Moose, who's like my actual biggest idol. Like I had a system for every single thing he did. He definitely had OCD, undiagnosed. Like if you went in his garage, everything was placed back in the same spot that it was supposed to be, like no dust on the floor. And I always thought that was beautiful. And just wanted to be so much like him. So I think those are like the three aspects of where I learned that from. And I think also with that too, just always feeling that I was, I don't know, in a sense, maybe a little less, I don't know, is adequate the word? Like I just didn't feel like I was at that mark to just like be able to show up and it happened.
yeah. I think that's a good perspective to have, though, regardless. Like, there's the blind confidence thing, sure, but
Yeah.
a combination of that and preparation, I feel like makes you a killer at anything you're trying to be good at. So,
Yeah.
thinking about the skin tones days, we'll talk about the transition. Also, this is probably going to go over an hour because I still have 3 or 4 more topics I want to get through. But if you could come with like 1 or 2 takeaways from those days, whether it's from a career perspective, rather than it's from a like how you internalize your thoughts or like how you show up or
Yeah.
what you've since wanted to become good at. What do you take away from those days from a positive point of view?
Yeah, of course. I think that one, everyone's making it all up. I talked to CEOs at that time and even still now, or just different people. And no, there's no magic formula. There's no thing that just like, no one gives a fuck where you're from, anything about you. It's more so just like, can you go out there and make a connection with somebody? Can you provide value? And can you do it in a way that doesn't create headaches for them? And I think, you can create anything you want. We would make beautiful things out of nothing and had fun experiences that we just made up in our head. Like, I think if you have an idea, you can create it. That's the one piece. And the lifestyle piece that I took from it was just like, you don't have to, you don't have to do the status quo. Like, there's fun thing. You can make fun things. And I got to travel and meet cool people. And like, there is cool people out there too. You just need to go find them. I think those are like some of the key takeaways I took. And then it's up to you. No one's coming to save you at the end of the day. So just do it yourself.
What
Do it
about
with
your
people though. Do it with people. You have to find good people.
true? Yeah. What about your ability to walk up and talk to anybody? Do you think that that tool got sharpened a bit in that age?
I mean, it got sharpened for sure, but that's kind of just who I've been always my whole life. My mom, like I said, literally every freaking person at the grocery store she would talk to. And she would sit there and talk for like 30 minutes with somebody she just like never had met before and just said hi. Like my family has a knack for being able to find a connection with anybody they meet. It doesn't matter which person it is in my family. They'll find a way to make a connection of like, I know this person you know, or I've had this experience that you've had. We're best friends now. Like they say
Yeah.
you're 7 connections away from any person you want to meet in the world. And my family's so good at finding those connections. So that's just kind of who I've guess always been naturally because of that.
Yeah. I think it translates well into recording a podcast too, right? Like just we got unlimited stuff to talk about the same way that we would if we went up to a stranger in a
Yeah.
grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
What was I just gonna say? I think like the preparation is a big thing and like your ability to walk up to people and talk to people is a big thing. To get into the transition a bit, I think one of like the most fascinating pieces of you, like I mentioned, is like just your ability to put 110% into things. And I want from your perspective to talk about the transition from in more of like a creative open-ended career into a 9 to 5 in sales. And I don't want to like undersell why you did that. I think like your perspective on it and like how it came directly from experiences in that past career speak volumes about like who you are and like your ability to throw yourself into something that you claim to not be good at so that you can get good at it.
Yeah.
Talk a bit about, yeah, like the, I guess, like kind of conclusion stages and then you figuring out what you now want to do. I know that transition isn't easy or wasn't easy, but what were kind of like the things that cultivated from leaving that last stage and entering this new stage?
So I was I was in a strange place after skin tones. I was looking for a job. I wanted to stay within marketing. Basically, doing experiential marketing was the goal. I just could not find a job. And I also wasn't applying myself as much. I think I was just in a bad place. So I went to a mentor, Bart Johnson in Green Bay, who is one of the best people in the world. I've known him since I was a kid, and he's always just had a lot of faith in me. And I basically just came to him and I was like, I need help. And he was like, I think based on what you're saying, you should join this company at Schneider. They'll, you'll be a sales rep and they have a good culture there. You'll meet good people, people around your age, like you'll have fun, all these different things. And I also had some thoughts of going into that after I was struggling because obviously we were doing a lot of stuff with clients, but one of the guys on my team had
This is
told me that,
in the skin tone
yeah,
stage,
this
right?
is that skin
Yeah.
tones, had told me that I should never talk to a client because it's not a good idea or something like that. Just because I was very upfront with people. I wasn't trying to create some world or illusion. And I was very okay with confrontation at that time, but like not necessarily even bad confrontation, just like telling the truth in a confrontation. So I had a little bit of vengeance too.
Yeah.
And then I just found myself in that world. And I also listened to a lot of CEOs talk, and they all said, like, every, if you want to be successful, you have to know sales. Like, sales is the most important piece. And I believe it is. I also think it's the hardest piece of all of this. It literally is gruesome every single day. And I've been doing it for 3 years. Like, it's so challenging. And I hate my life a lot of days, but like it also is very rewarding a lot of days too. So that's kind of how I got here, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I was looking for. And do you feel like this is kind of an intermediary step between what you were doing previously and what you wanted to be and what you want to be doing in the future? Like, do you see yourself? Have you always wanted to run a business? Like, how is this like part of a stepping stone to what's next?
Yeah. To be successful in life, you have to be able to sell. You have to be able to sell yourself. You have to be able to communicate properly. You have to be able to listen. And I think I have some natural ability in some aspects, but I do have challenges in some aspects as well. I think long term, this will be the greatest decision I ever made just because it will teach me skills of how to be a great communicator. And I think it already has, like in my relationship, even it's made me be a better communicator. And when I, transition from how I'm communicating in my relationship to how I'm communicating it at work and like all these things are based around communication and selling and all that stuff. So for owning a business, you have to sell yourself every single day. It's all selling, which like kind of sucks, but it's like so necessary. And I think it also is one of the most beautiful things because you can truly have great connections if you're able to do this job and you actually care. I think that's like a different thing. Like there's obviously the bad rep of salespeople, like they're just trying to sell me and they're selling their soul and all this stuff or whatever. And I think that's so true. Like there is a lot of people like that, but then there is people that truly care and aren't going to sell you a bad deal because it's going to make them money. Like there's a double-edged sword for everything. And I want to be on the side that's just when you think of somebody that treated you right and did it right, I want to be on that side. So
So now, a few years into the sales career, can you
mhm.
confidently say that it's serving the purpose that you'd intended it to serve?
Yeah, it's serving. I'm learning. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I don't think I'm that great at this. I think I've put more hours in than probably most people that have had the same tenure as me. And I still think I'm not as good as some of the people that have had less time than me. And that's not necessarily even like me talking down on myself. That's just me understanding my abilities and understanding where I'm good and where I'm not good and where I need to learn. I think it's also you have to learn you have to be able to create systems. You have to learn how to think differently. You have to understand how to use tools. Like there is so much going into being really good. Um, and mastering all those things is really hard. So yeah, I forgot what your question was, but that's where my head went.
When you kind of answered it even before I asked that, it's kind of like a rhetorical question because it's serving some sort of purpose. And especially for you, you kind of are intentional with most of the stuff that you do. So I would expect whether, you draw it specifically back to what you were thinking when you were maybe looking for some sort of vengeance from
Yeah.
remarks received from other team members in the past.
Yeah.
It's doing what it needs to do each day. And we obviously spend lots of time outside of our careers talking about what else we want to do. So I don't
Yeah.
know, just kind of staying grounded and making sure that it's serving its purpose and doing check ins with ourselves to make sure it's
It
not wasted
definitely
time.
it definitely is. The one of the best things it's taught me, and I already had this in a sense, but I'm not scared to piss somebody off at this point. Like
Yeah.
if I want something, and like I said, I kind of had this already, but as you grow older, you kind of get away from it, like that blind confidence of just like, I will, if I really want to talk to you, like I'm going to talk to you and you're going to know why. You're going to know that I care so much that you're going to want to talk with me too, because especially if like I'm making it align to you. But yeah, I'll blowing somebody up on the phone. If you ever watched, um, like the YouTube page or Instagram page, Hard Knock Life, it's this guy that goes up to random millionaires and interviews them on the street, like with the question, "Have you ever been broke before?" People all the time tell him, "Hey man, I don't got time." Okay, so have you ever been broke? And then just keeps asking them questions every time they try to tell him no. You also learn how to do that in sales if like that's one of the things that you're focused on is like, I don't care. I'm going to talk to you. Like I have a motto to myself that I won't hang up the phone and I'm going to ask one more question. And it's funny, like a lot of these CEOs that he's talking to are people that are making money that he's talking to. They'll stop and they'll laugh and say, "You're good." And I learned that from him, or I recognized it more when I'm doing well, I'm doing that too. So
Mm. Well, and I feel like if you get reps in at that scale, working in a company like Salesforce, bugging people about like multi-million dollar deals is going to make, having conversations with everyday folk a whole lot easier.
for sure,
So that could be a silver lining too.
for sure.
I have like a thousand more questions for you, honestly, but trying to somewhat get towards a conclusion here.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, obviously, we make a lot of goals, we document our processes, we created this podcast just to kind of talk about what we want to do, who we want to be.
Yeah.
We talk about building a company, which is great, but what's kind of the spark notes of, the light at the end of the tunnel for you, whether that's a family, whether that's a big
Hmm.
house and cars. I kind of have a picture in my mind of like what lifestyle looks like once I feel like I've gotten to this place I'm continually pushing towards. Do you have that image in mind in your head, or is it more so just grinding day in and day out and the stuff that comes from it will come from it?
No, no. I definitely I've been thinking about this topic a lot, as I'm sure you know, and people know if they've been watching this. For me, I'm starting to realize that it's more about self-reliance. Like I'm gonna admit this to you guys, but I haven't really admitted this to anyone else. I've started cutting my own hair, and like I just got a clippers so that I can start doing a fade. And like last night I actually lined myself up in the back like for the first time by myself. And all this stuff that I'm doing is just I don't want to be in a spot where I have to rely on a paycheck from someone else or someone else telling me what to do. It's not necessarily that obviously I want to make a lot of money, I want to do well, but more so just want the freedom to be able to do what I want. I think so many people work. How do they say that? They live to work, not work to live.
Hmm.
And I want to work to live. So I want my situation set up so that if I want to work, I can work. If I don't want to work, I don't gotta work. And a lot of that is just having good systems, having things set up so that money's making it's itself basically, and I can do it from wherever I want. And if shit goes left, like I know I can either make it all back up by putting some effort into it, or I can, sit back and do well too. And all that sounds great, but it also is doing a lot of work to get there. So that's what I want. I obviously want money. I want nice things, but like to me, I'm fine with living in a fishing town and spending every morning surfing and chilling on a boat or a beach. Like I'm fine with taking a call on a beach. I don't want to just be a grinder my whole life.
Is Chicago your forever home base?
I think Chicago will be like, yeah, home base in a sense, just because it's the greatest city in the world. Like, but I don't know. I want to live all over too. I'm gonna spend time overseas and in South America, and so we'll figure out where I'm actually ending up, because I think it's important to see the world too and to know what you truly like and what aligns with you.
In a couple months, you'll be out in Minneapolis too. Maybe you'll be like, hey, I want to be back here again.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's happening, but I'll be there.
Hey, a guy can hope. All
Yeah.
right. So, in regards to the podcast, I was trying to figure out, I could look back on YouTube, I guess, to see when the first podcast went live, but we're probably like a year and some change into this joint, right? I feel like we haven't done them weekly for a year, but I think like it was like last April or something that we did the first one.
Yeah, I think it's probably been like
Or
maybe
I guess maybe less than a year.
9 months, because I think I started at Salesforce already, hadn't I?
No, we like documented you interviewing for it.
Oh,
The
yeah, yeah.
first few you
So
were at Schneider.
so probably like 10 or 11 months.
I low key want to look it up just to fact check, but you're
Anyway,
probably right. Anyway, so when we started this podcast, you had a specific viewpoint on its purpose and why you kind of thought it made sense to start it. Do you still feel it's serving that same purpose, or is there new things that have came from us doing it over time that you didn't expect?
I don't remember all the specifics that I said, but I know what it's for now. And that's, I just think it's a great outlet. One, I think it's a great place for you and I to talk. I think it's a great place for other people to be able to use their voice too, whether that's people that already have a voice or maybe they have a lot to share. I just think it's great for getting interesting people out to the world and being able to learn from them. But I also just I like conversation and I like smart people. I like fun people, and I just think it's so interesting to talk with all different walks of life. And I just think for me, it's a great place to think too and to challenge myself in ways too. So, and it's an excuse to talk to you once a week too. So,
And one other thing that you called out that I think about more now is just about documenting, like
yeah,
20
yeah,
years from now, going back to watch the introduction of yourself in,
yeah.
2026. Think
I
about the
do.
stuff we've talked about today and looking back on it in the future.
Yeah. I think I just want my kids to be able to know who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why I try to be as honest as I can on these and vulnerable in a lot of ways too, which like probably in some places might get me in trouble at times. But I want them to understand who I am, what I stood for, and if they ever want to hear my voice, they can.
Yeah. Well, and without guardrails too, like if this thing continues to get bigger, maybe we'll talk about things a little more intentionally, but it's, these first handful episodes
Yeah,
really just winging it, saying whatever comes to mind, and you can kind of hear us unfiltered, especially in episodes 1 through 20 or whatever. So I'm
exactly.
I'm glad to have this as kind of a time capsule to look back on.
For sure.
Anything else you want to add or close us out with?
I think overshared and went down memory lane in a lot of ways that I probably haven't in a long time and have avoided for a long time. So I appreciate you asking me the questions and making me think. It was fun and scary in a lot of ways. So
You did it. We
yeah,
made it. We made it an hour and some change. I got a hell of more questions. We could have done this all day, but I'll sprinkle those in future episodes.
for sure. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it, bro. Good work. You crushed it. Formula episode 13. See you next week.
See you.
All right.